Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I am Charles. We are going to talk about the drivers of change for the bus company Transnational Konsortium Transnational. But before I do that, let us first begin by discussing the two types of drivers of change, namely shifts and triggers. Shifts are long-term macroscopic scale changes, which are like, for example, urban transition, an aging world, and climate change. Triggers, on the other hand, are immediate changes, for example, technological advances, political upheavals, economic situations, environmental incidents, and so on. Now, let's talk about urban, tran- urban transition. Now, younger generations are more likely to migrate to larger cities, and because of that, they will need transportation to go there. This may this will in turn drive the need for a bigger fleet of buses in the future, and that is for urban transition. Now, on the part about electrical vehicles, there is an ongoing trend to replace conventional motors with electrical vehicles, and one such pioneer in this country is the Bus Selangor initiative in the state of Selangor in the future, and that is for electrical vehicles. Now, let's talk about smart vehicles. Smart vehicles are vehicles that can drive themselves and also avoid collisions with other vehicles. This will be helpful for Consortium Transnational and its drivers, as it will help the drivers to be more relaxed, to have more rest, especially when it comes to driving for long haul trips. The number four driver of change is online booking. Actually, when it comes to online booking, there is already online booking for bus transportation implemented through the website of the Terminal Bersekutu Selatan in KL. And in the future, it will be wise to expand this online booking system to other terminals across the country. And it will also be wise to implement e-ticketing service similar to airlines, in which you don't even have to print out physical paper tickets. You need just to show an electronic ticket to the ticket to the usher of the bus. And that's it for online booking and ticketing. Now, next up is alternate forms of transportation. Another Right now, in the current situation, there are two competitors to long-haul bus service that Consortium Transnational provides, namely low-cost flight services such as those provided by Firefly and the proposed East Coast Railway line. These alternate forms of transportation are going to be competitors to transnational buses when it comes to transport between major towns. Now, for safety trends, there is a trend in Russia to install dash cams on their vehicles to prevent insurance fraud and so on. And this can be implemented in transnational bus services, again to prevent accidents and to monitor drivers' performance. And another trend in safety trends is the use of tracking system. Tracking systems will allow us to keep track of where the buses are in case of emergency situations. It will also be able to make sure that we the customers know the times of arrivals of buses, so that they can be easily determined and we don't have to wait for frustratingly long times for these buses to arrive. And ladies and gentlemen, concludes our section on the drivers of change.
Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is Mohd Syukri bin Matali. Today, I'm going to present to you about the basic needs of customers from Consortium Transnational. So this is the overall what we're going to do today. Consortium Transnational is the biggest operator of public bus transportation in Malaysia. They provide the most broadly coverage throughout Peninsular Malaysia, covering all major cities and towns as well as Singapore. As we know, consumer trends and consumer behavior more extensively, which are driven by basic, fundamental, rarely if ever changing human needs and desires. To regain and increase the size of the shrinking market share, we need to understand the basic needs of the customer, which are connection and security. First one is connection. Public bus is one of the main transportation in Malaysia. Customer need to travel from one place to another desired place, for example, from Kuala Lumpur to Johor Bahru. There are three types of bus provided by Consortium Transnational, which are stage bus, express bus, and bus charter services. Transnational put customer safety at the forefront of the service. For example, all the new transnational coaches are well designed to fit the European ECE R66 regulation. The buses are designed to be aerodynamic with tapered roofs to provide a lower center of gravity, thus reducing rollover incidences. Double-decker safety. 2 emergency hatches can be found on the roof of every double-decker buses, while an emergency door and a step-down ladder is also fitted to better facilitate with evacuation of passengers on the top deck.
Hi, I'm Athirah. So today I'll explain you about my ENT video regarding the emerging consumer expectation for the transnational company. As you're all aware, that transnational company is actually a service bus that will bring you from one place to another place by using it is one of the public transportation, of course. So these are my mind maps. So I got like 5 points over here, and I'll explain one by one. Okay, so first and foremost is the shifting consumer priority and expectation. While most brand knows that the customer isn't always right, but most of the customer know that customer is always right. So what are these services brand needs to do is they have to know the consumer needs, and they have to know what's their rights and what's customer right. So all these things, customers' rights is always the number one. And indeed, according to the UK latest customer satisfaction index, employee friendliness, helpfulness, and competence become relatively more important, as well as the speed of service. So move on to the number two. Number two is contact through multiple social medias or contact through multiple channels. This is indeed contacting people using the email, their social media, and I guess this is one of the platforms to make your service well known to other people. As the third point is surprisingly demographic. Surprisingly demographic is actually the transnational company service have to study about their customer needs, their customer age, their customer race, and even gender to make sure they know who are their customer and what their customer needs year by year. The next one is the greater importance to customer service. The greater importance of customer service is actually good customer service will make a huge difference between a happy customer and a grumpy customer. So it's actually like the transnational company have to study about what their customer needs and what are they use with their, like people complain, and you should know where do they have to complain and where do they have to like refer to. And last but not least is move towards frequent testing. This is actually about services or about operation thing. The company needs to make sure that the customer service is operating as they should. Like people, the angry customer who wants to refer to the service, like they don't want to see the unfair process, or they don't want to see the drop call, which is like, I have a problem regarding to my ticket, and then I call to the hotline and people would not answering it. So they would tell the people, as this is the social media era, so they would tell the people like, oh, this transnational company is not good. So hence, in order to give a better service, so they should keep up the good operation. So that's all from me. Thank you.
So I'll be talking about inspiration things. So I have chosen Flixbus from Europe to be the inspiration of transnational in Malaysia. So as for now, in 2018, they have already 100 million customers since their launch, and they had 40 million in 2014 alone in Europe. So they already have 1,700 destinations in 27 countries across Europe, in meaning that this bus can actually go interstates and inter countries in the Europe. What is amazing about iFlix, and why do I think that iFlix should be an inspiration to transnational, is because first, they have free Wi-Fi on bus. Although we know that Wi-Fi is a necessity for people nowadays, we do realize that a lot of buses in Malaysia don't really have or don't really provide free Wi-Fi for their customers on board. And we think that having Wi-Fi would provide people with an essential time of them doing work on the bus, because we do know that some people travel because of businesses and because of studies. Everyone wants to save the environment, and so is iFlix. So what is different with iFlix and other buses is that customers can actually choose to pay for the CO2 offset. What does it mean? So when you travel using normal buses, you know that transportations uses fuel, and these fuel, when they are being combusted, they will produce, sometimes the combustion is an incomplete combustion, so they can actually produce carbon monoxide and also SOx and NOx and other types of air pollutants. So so by actually asking the customers if they want or they prefer to pay for the CO2 offset, which is usually 1 to 3% of the ticket price, so next they have toilet on board. I think this is something that transnationals should really consider heavily, because I've been someone who traveled travel a lot using buses, using local buses, and I realized that most of our local buses do not have toilets on board, and this is problematic because, let's say, okay, I used to study in Terengganu, so from Johor to Terengganu, well, usually at night trips we would sleep, but then waking up and the environment is cold, you would suddenly want to go to the toilet, and it's a problematic thing. First, if you're sitting at the back of the bus, going in front of the bus, telling the driver you want to stop is not something convenient. Second, some locations are really not strategic for you to ask the drivers to stop immediately for a toilet break. And third, I think it is more convenient because we have people, we have OKUs riding buses, we have people, you know, that there are actually diseases which is not preferable for people to actually hold in their toilet desires. So I think it is really important for buses, local buses, especially transnational, as someone who is pioneer in the bus industry in Malaysia, to have toilet on boards already. And they also have their own phone application, which is really important. In Malaysia, we can see that there are phone applications to reserve tickets and to book seats. However, it is more of an integrated kind of application. What iFlick has done early this year is that it has just initiated an electric buses usage. So as like I'm talking about how we are concerned about environments, they have just tested 3 new electric buses going as much as 100 kilometers across Europe. So 2 of them is in Germany and 1 of them is in France. So I think it is important for us to actually move to a new mode of transportation, because right now we want to reduce the dependency of the world towards fuel. So other than that, basic things, they have plugs in their buses. They have like small shops inside the bus itself, where if you want to buy drinks or you want to buy snacks, you can have it.